So when I was talking to Emma about her portfolio last week, she brought up this little drawing here and said that she was thinking with some of her new skills, she might want to do something more with this drawing. And I said that I would do a little demo about how you could easily turn a line work drawing into a little extrusion in Rhino. So I'm going to just see what I can do with this, and yeah, so I'll start by dragging this PNG file over into my Rhino window. The image options come up here. I'm just going to bring it in as a picture, and then I'll select 0,0 as the base point, and I'm just going to drag it up a little bit here. So I'll go into my top view, and I'm just going to check my units. I'm in meters, so I'm going to probably scale this according to the human figures. I don't know exactly how big this is. I don't have any dimensions, but I'm going to assume that this person is about a meter. He's kind of crouched down. So I'm going to draw a reference line just from the tip of the foot to the top of the head. And then I'm going to select everything and use scale. And I will select the base point of the line and the first reference point, which is the end of the line. And then I'm just going to scale it down to 1 meter. So now it's at 1 meter. I'll just move this back down to the base point, which is 0,0. And I can get rid of my reference line. So now what I'm going to do is select this transparency and go into my materials, and I'm just going to give it a transparency of 50% so that it kind of fades back and I can see my line work. I'll go into my layers, create a new one called background image, and I'm going to put that on this object, or on this layer. I'm just going to purge the rest of my layers and make a new one for my line work. So on this one, which I'm going to give a color of aquamarine just so it stands out, I can use the lines that are here as a tracing. So I'm going to start with a polyline, PL for polyline, and I'm just going to start by tracing over this. Now I want to do the section cut line, which is down here. So I'm going to go to my standard palette and go into my curves and just use a control point curve here to approximate that section cut line. So now I can select all those lines and join them together. And it looks like this section cut line stays fairly similar towards the end of this culvert. So I'm going to just extrude this, and then I'll make any further adjustments that I need. So I'm going to turn the whole thing and rotate it by 90 degrees using my gumball like this. And I'll just turn off the background image and extrude this using EXT. I have mine set to both sides, so I'm going to turn both sides off, make sure solid is on, and then I'm just going to extrude it about 2 meters. I think that's approximately how long it looks in that section image. And I'll go into my shaded view just so I can see what I've got. So I'll turn the background image on again, and I'll just use my gumball. I'm going to use the y-axis to just bring it to the back of this image. And now I have an extrusion here, and what I want to do is do the back plate of this now. So I'm going to go into my front view where I can work in elevation, and I'm going to continue with the line work that's in the background. So I am going to trace over this back plate here. I'll start by moving my background image down to match this line. And now I want to create an arc, so I'm going to use the arc tool, and I'm going to use the start and end point on arc. I'm going to select all of these lines and move them from the front of the picture plane to the back of the extrusion, like that. And then I'm going to extrude them again, so EXT, and I'm just going to extrude them back another 2 meters. Now I can turn off my image layer, and if I take a look, I see that that didn't quite do what I wanted it to do, so I'm just going to undo that turn off my background image and just see, probably have to explode this and join it up with the top line. So I'm just removing the lines from the bottom. I'm going to select the line at the top and join that. And I'll just make sure that these are connected. So I'm going to select that and use a split command and select the arc as my cutting surface. And now I can deselect the bottom of the culvert and select the arch and just join those together. And now I should be able to extrude those off into the distance. So I'm going to do 2 meters again. And now I'm going to use this to bring that back over into this so that we have a surface that has a base. If I want, I can also use move face and drag this to the end of that extrusion so that we have a little bit more volume underneath. And now we have a basic extrusion to work with. So if I take a look at this drawing, everything else I feel like could be added in Lumion. So really all I would need to do is turn off my image. I'm going to move this to 0, 0, like that. And then if I wanted to apply any materials, I would probably do that now. So if this wall is supposed to be a different material, then I would definitely want to change this. So maybe this is now ground. I'll probably need something for the lawn or grass layer. And what I would do is just explode this and deselect the top layer, join it back up, and take the top layer and move it to lawn and give that a materiality. This is probably a wall, so I'm going to make a new layer called wall, give it a dark gray tone. And now that this is materialized, I can create a base point there, select the whole thing, export with origin, select that base point, and I'm going to call this Emma's section and export it as a collada file. And then I could bring it into Lumion and add in some planting, some rocks, and a few scale figures. And I could render out a section perspective or a section cut or a little axonometric even if I wanted to. So that's a really quick 10-minute fix for an old drawing that you want to update and bring up to speed with your new skills.